bring it together, that would be great. But if not, don't worry. But as I said, I'm just going to be talking on this subject today about controlling your emotions. Now, I know it's something that us as traders face every single day and probably is the biggest reason why we're not making progress. And what I'll do is just go straight into the first slide over here. Now, I just want to make a promise to you all that on today's session, if you apply what I'm about to tell you and you really work on applying it, not just in your trading, but in your day-to-day life, you will be able to take control of these negative emotions that you face as a trader, and you will be able to turn them around into something positive. And that is my promise to you today. But obviously, as you know, it will take effort on your part. Just like when you first started trading, you had to study, you had to research, you had to put in the hours to really figure out what your approach will be. And as you learned the basics, you still had to continue putting in the work to get to where you are today. So as much as I'll do my best to help you, you also have to make sure that you are willing to put in that work. Now, for those that are not so much in a negative place, or are in a negative place, should I say, I just need to understand you one thing before we continue. Please remember that you haven't always been there. And that's what I want to do for you today, just to get you back to a place where these emotions never even existed, or at least were not as bad as they are right now. And for those that may not be in such a bad place, or let's say are in a good place, today's webinar will help you drastically make changes in your way of thinking, whether they're going to be big or whether they're going to be small. And for those that really understand this business, and I'm sure you all do, you will know that in this business, small changes are really what makes a difference. So the suggestion that I'm going to make today will make a huge impact on your behavior. I absolutely can promise you that. And in turn, you will be able to see those results in your trading. So for those here, please put aside at least 30 to 40 minutes while I go through this presentation with you. And as I said, I'm super pumped. I hope you're super pumped as well. And we'll get this show on the road. So firstly, what are emotions? So before we begin, what we'll really try to do here is just dissect what emotions are. Now, everyone talks about them on a daily basis. Control your emotions, master your emotions, don't let your emotions get the better of you. But what really are emotions? Well, the first definition is really simple. They are simply a reaction that one faces in different situations. So I'll repeat that. They are simply a reaction that one faces in different situations. So as an example, a trader, let's say, is woken up in the morning, he prepares himself for his day, has his coffee and a couple slices of toast. He then sits down at his computer and immediately he starts to get butterflies. Now, why would he begin to get butterflies? Well, they could be for many reasons. He may have lost money the day before, or he may have just deposited some of his savings in his live account. And today is the first day that he's going to go live. Or it could be that he's just back tested his 100th trade and he's finished his challenge with a 67% win rate. And now he's thinking in his head, I hope I can do this in the live markets. Now, these are emotions caused by circumstance of events. But notice what just happened here. One scenario, but a whole different bunch of emotions. And it's crazy. Now, the second definition is also very, very simple. It is something that is instinctive or intuitive, meaning we either act on something because we are hardwired to do so, or we reason. So as an example, a trader has just lost a trade. Now, he knows deep down that he needs to step away from his computer. The reason why is because he has a habit of overtrading and unfortunately gives way too much back to the markets in this state of mind. His instincts are telling him, no, I shouldn't take another trade. And the reason why his instincts are telling him this is because he knows what the consequences could lead to. But he ignores this warning and allows these emotions to take over his thinking. And rather than listen to his emotions, he decides not to listen. And then guess what? He ends up losing. Now, trader 2, on the other hand, has all the same emotions stated above. He goes through the exact same cycle, but instead, he uses an intuitive approach. He has a strong sense of what is right and what is wrong, and he is able to understand what it is he is going through at this stage. He doesn't need to take another trade to prove himself right or wrong, because he is able to understand what he is going through emotionally from a factual perspective. So he doesn't trade, and in turn, he obviously lives to trade another day. But notice this, guys, two different approaches, but with the same emotions attached, but different outcomes. So in short, what are emotions? They are simply our body telling us a message, translating data to us, and in theory, giving us as traders the opportunity to do something about it and give us a chance to act on it. And that's our first lesson today that I need you all to focus on. When you're starting to feel any emotions, whatever it may be, in trading, in life, I need you to be able to identify these emotions and stop whatever you're doing. Because unfortunately, our trader who knew that he shouldn't have continued trading did not listen to his emotions. He decided to disregard that these emotions was telling him a message, and then we know the outcome. He lost his money. Whereas our second trader identified these emotions, took control of the message his body was signaling to him, and he lived to trade another day. Now, the feelings a trader who lost his first trade was going through at the times were probably regret, losing money when they believed it was a fantastic trade, or it could just be that they thought that the setup they just took was a phenomenal setup and decided to risk a little bit more than they should have, which stirred up their greed factor. Now, you have to understand these emotions that this trader went through after he lost the trade may have been just a feeling of loss and anger, a little bit of inadequacy, but it gets worse because he took another trade when he should have listened to his emotions, and now that starts to make him overlook something very important at this stage, is that those end result feelings are firstly not the real reason he feels the way he does right now, but rather the effect, the after effect of what he done initially, which was not listen to his emotions, which was regret of losing the first trade or putting too much emphasis on a setup being perfect. Now, if he did listen to his emotions at the first stage, then he would not be digging a hole so deep by stirring all the other emotions and then allowing it to control him and cause him to now feel angry, inadequate, and doubtful. If he just identified initially when he was at that stage, then he could have avoided the unnecessary loss and then the emotions that stacked up after he lost the trade that he should have never have taken. So what I want you to really focus on is our first step as traders is to identify immediately when these emotions are talking to you. Because if you can, even if you suffer once, you can avoid self-sabotaging and repeating the disastrous mistakes of allowing your emotions to continue controlling you. So does this make sense? First things first, this first point, does this make sense, Instagram? Does this make sense, Zoom? Perfect. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you. So let's move on. So the question is, where do these emotions come from? Okay. Now, most of us ask this question on a daily basis, or we know that we're controlled, or we have the emotions that we face have an impact on us. And we've obviously spoken about identifying these emotions being the first steps to take forward. Now, all of you here today probably have been through one or two of these emotions in the list above. And really and truly, most of you may have been through all of them. And if you're new to trading, then believe me, they are coming. But I'm not saying this to make you fearful, but just to make you understand one very important factor. You will never, ever get rid of all your emotions as a trader. But what you can learn to do is identify them and manage them. And for me personally, one thing I found that was very hard was over trading, because my strategy allowed me to find setups all day, every day, at any time, and across all pairs. Now, initially, when I first started trading, I was like, I'm going to make tons of money, trade from my phone and laptop, and I'll never have to work a 9 to 5 again. And these emotions got me so excited and triggered, and I was hungry and I was determined. And I'd wake up early and I'll go to bed late. And the emotions I was going through kept me fueled. Now, I don't know if it was the same for you, but in the beginning, I was banging out blue results left, right, and center. But eventually, what happened is things started to turn around. I got so heavily involved in the profits and the money that I could not see that the emotions I was going through was distorting my reasoning behind what I was doing. And as you know, in this business, if you chase money, the money will continue to run from you. And eventually I started to lose everything. And then this started to cause me to doubt. I started to lose more money, chase, take trades I knew I should have never taken. And I kept changing my strategy. And then, the rest was history. So I sat down one day and I thought about this. Where was all of these negative emotions coming from that was affecting my trading? Was it because I was a bad trader? Was it because I wasn't good enough to do this? Was it because I can't control my greed or my frustration? And I thought about this and pondered it over for a very long time. I was still making the same mistakes and it didn't change around immediately for me. But one day, after much consideration and after every trade I lost, I realized that the one thing that was holding me back personally was the emotion of being attached to the dream that money could bring. So I stopped and I said to myself, if that was the catalyst to anyone's success, then why is it not working for me? And I realized that the emotional attachment to the monetary value was what was holding me back. And now I started to realize that all the feelings and emotions I was going through was only the cause of one main reason: chasing money. It was the after effect. So I decided that it was time to change things around. I knew how to make money. So all I needed to do was avoid losing a lot of money. So I simply started to trust the process. The minute I realized the emotions from losing a trade caused me to want to overtrade, I stopped trading. When I started to feel the greedy feelings coming up, I stopped trading. When I realized I was wrong, I cut my losses. I started to trust my emotions and I listened to them. And from that day on, which was about 4 years ago, I am obviously where I am today. But that wasn't it. Okay. That wasn't all that I had to face. I now started to stop blaming the markets for me losing money and all that crap about stop hunts as my excuse and market makers as my excuse. But rather, I started to steer those negative emotions to a root cause. And my root cause will be the same for all of you today, I'm pretty sure. And this is where the second tip comes into consideration. If you really want to start controlling your emotions, the markets do not care about you. And you have to accept this. They do not hate you. They do not love you. They will not reward you, even if you beg them, pray to them, scream at them, smash your screen, or call your broker a bastard. And if this is the case, then you have to stop right now and you need to ask yourself, if I can't blame the markets, then where are all these emotions coming from? And who is causing these emotions? And the answer is you. The actions that you take are what triggers them. And how you listen to those emotions initially before things get bad and do something about them is what will lead to your next result. Because every emotion you face will come from the last trade you just took. And if you realize that after winning a trade, you get greedy and start thinking about how much more money you can make, you need to stop and say to yourself, at this moment in time, I'm feeling overconfident. What would be the result if I lose some of the profits I just won? Would I chase the profits? And if so, what could happen if I lose more? Will I revenge trade? Will I increase my lot size? And the list goes on. Or let's say, as another example, you took a break-even trade and that trade went 80% in your direction, but you never closed the trade. At this time, your emotions are obviously stirring up and you're starting to feel regretful because, one, you never set an alert, and you could have taken some profits if you did. Or two, you shouldn't have left your trade without a take profit set because you thought you'll be back in time for making a cup of tea. Now, let's say you accept that the break-even trade, or you accept the break-even trade, but your emotions just won't let you accept it. Right now, you are stirred up with feelings you cannot shift. So you start looking for another setup. But the whole time you're doing this, you feel a little fearful. Why? Well, the emotions that you are facing right now are not your normal state, for one. And you know that there is a strong chance you can make the wrong decision in taking another trade. You know that the outcome of what could come from losing this trade, and that fear is so strong, it's starting to make you anxious. But the whole time, you are still not listening to those emotions or those fears. You're still searching for that trade, and you find one. And guess what? You lose. And guess what? You lose some more. Now, could this have been avoided? Absolutely. The emotions you were going through just before you allowed the other emotions to kick in was simply telling you, next time, use a take profit or set an alert. You lost nothing. And right now, because of the feelings of regret, it is probably best to walk away and not overthink anything. Because believe me, and most of you have probably gone through it, after you lose more than you should have, we all look back and we say, I knew I never should have done it. So what does that mean for us as traders who want to become owners of our own emotions? The minute we identify these emotions above, we need to stop, reason on them, and act in accordance with the root cause of the actual event so as to not create a hole that we cannot climb out of, which is all the other emotions we create by doing dumb things. Now, does this make sense? YouTube, Zoom, does this make sense? YouTube, does this make sense? Thank you, Zoom. Thank you, thank you. Okay, so let's move on. Here we go. So what do we do now once we've identified these emotions? Well, very simply, we need to learn to accept them as part of our attire. You know, it's part of our business to have these emotions, and it's part and parcel of our contract to ourselves. And it should be written down in your trading plan. You see, what we have to learn to accept as traders is this one thing. The initial emotions we have as traders are a signal to us that something bad could come. Not something bad can come from not listening to them or doing something in accordance with them. So I'll just repeat that. The initial emotions we have as traders are a signal to us that something bad could come or something that we're planning to do could have a negative outcome. And believe me, with the experience we have as traders and what we go through on a daily basis, we know when something is right and when something is not right. And I'm sure you would all agree with me. So when you're going through an emotion, whatever it may be, you need to not do anything. You need to stop and reason for 60 seconds and figure out if the action you are about to take based on the emotions you are feeling are the right decisions. And if they are not, then you need to listen to those emotions and avoid what you're about to do. We have already discussed a few examples, but let's just give you another one. Let's say you're about to take a sell on GJ. You've identified clean market structure to the downside, a beautiful trend, and you scale down and you see that there's enough evidence to support that right now the bears are in control of the market. So you transition over to your entry time frame. You see a beautiful double top. Price action is leaving you all the right signals. And then you check the news and you see that in 15 minutes time, high impact news is about to be released. You pause for a second and you start to doubt. Your emotion starts to create a feeling of what if, but you're so attached to this perfect setup, you battle these emotions. You know the consequences could be bad if you take this trade and the news goes against you, but you then start to reason that if you are right, it could also make you a ton of money. But you're battling your emotions to take the trade, even though you know it's not wrong. And then guess what happens? You take the trade and you lose. You don't just lose a little bit or what you plan to risk, you get caught out by slippage and you lose more than you intended. What happens next? You start to feel like crap. You feel like a total twat. And you say to yourself, I knew I should not have taken this trade. And you start to get frustrated. And what happens next? You start to sell into the same candle that's going up because you try to now convince yourself that it can't keep going up, surely. So you keep selling and selling, and you lose more and more. And then you know what? You get to a point of no return. Now you start to blame the markets, question your abilities as a trader, doubt whether you can ever succeed at anything you do. And then it affects your family life, your work life, and everything else surrounding you. But what's happening right now is you've triggered emotions that should have never even been triggered. Your initial emotion was telling you no because of the news, but you reasoned in a way to benefit you from a greed perspective and never reasoned on the possible outcome, which could have been a loss. So what I'm trying to say is that this is one scenario. And if you think that by avoiding or listening to these emotions on one occasion will bring you that positive result, and then for the rest, it will continue to bring positive results, you're wrong. Our business as traders comes with emotions as part of the package. So if you are not acting on them every single time it gives you a warning in every single situation, then you are more likely doomed to fail. Because the emotions that you encounter and how you behave with these emotions is what will separate you to the best and the worst, or the majority or the minority. And the majority in this business is not the side that you want to be on, guys. You have to start to accept the emotions you face on a daily basis are not a negative thing. They are, in fact, a positive thing. They are there to help you as a trader recognize things from a logical perspective as opposed to acting irrationally. It's a warning sign. And if you can learn to embrace those emotions you face, then you will be able to act in accordance with them to reason effectively and efficiently. And in the example, we saw how simple it is to say to yourself, you know what, I know I can win big, but you know what, you can also lose big. And what makes a difference is if you learn to listen to your emotions on this occasion and avoid trading it, then what that would do for you moving forward is set a strong foundation. And if you start to say to yourself, well, I've lost in the past and I know this could potentially cause me to lose this trade, then you're going to avoid trading it. And the more you force yourself into what you believe to be an uncomfortable situation, the stronger you will grow as a trader, the more disciplined and focused you will become, and the more you'll be in control of your emotions, and obviously the better the results will be for you. So you have to clearly define what it is you want from trading. If you know that it's to make money, to own your time, to provide for your family, then you need to get serious about it. Because if you know deep down that acting on your negative emotions and not listening to them will lead to not achieving the results you're looking for, then you need to not do it. You need to listen to your emotions so that you can achieve the results you are looking for. It's your signal. You don't have a boss, your mum and dad, your mentor sitting over your shoulder telling you what to do. You only have your emotions and you need to listen to them. Accept them, make them part of your trading, because if you want to achieve what it is you're striving for, then you need to make this change today. And I am begging you, trust me when I say this, if you can master this, then I'm telling you, you not only will have time for everything else, but you will see the results turn around drastically. Does this make sense? Instagram, does this make sense? YouTube, does this make sense? Yeah. YouTube, does this make sense? Thank you, Zoom. Perfect. Okay. So let's just talk about this scenario now. Let's say you've been trading for 5 years and you're now at the stage you fear that you're so far gone and that you've lost all concept of who you are as a person and as a trader. You believe that no matter what you do, what you change, what you apply to your trading, that nothing ever works for you and will never work for you. What is it you can do? Well, you have to take those feelings of self-doubt, regret, and failure, and you need to turn them into something positive. But the question is, how do you do that? Well, firstly, you need to identify what you are feeling right now is only the expectation you have on yourself under these circumstances. So let me say that again. The feelings that you are going through right now, who've been in trading for a long time, are the feelings that you're going through right now are only the expectation you have on yourself under these circumstances right now. The circumstances of trading for 3 years or 5 years, for losing the money you've lost, for not following your plan the way you should have, not listening to your emotions earlier, for being greedy, chasing trades, and the list goes on, you know, and that turning hurt and regret and doubt into something positive. What you need to understand is that these feelings are feelings that you're feeling now under these circumstances. So from today on, what you need to do is learn to forget about all of that. The truth is, deep down, for the majority of traders here, you are phenomenal traders. You now need to change one thing. Anytime you feel those emotions stated above, you now need to turn those feelings into a plan of action. And your plan of action is this simple. You have to stop the way you are thinking, or you need to stop the way you are approaching trading. Because we've already seen how traders can twist the way they think and take a trade they know they shouldn't be taking. And we also have seen how traders can use their way of thinking to avoid taking trades they shouldn't be taking. So for you, it's the exact same thing. The minute you slip back into those negative thoughts and you allow those emotions to stir up, you need to stop and you need to say to yourself, is my past a true representation of who I am today and what I'm trying to achieve? The answer will always be no. And if this is the case, then you need to work on it. So what if you've been trading for 5 years? So what if you've lost a lot of money? So what if you think you're a shit trader? So what if you don't have a strategy right now? So what? What you need to start doing with that chain of thought is change it around. Yes, I've been trading for 5 years and I want to be a trader for another 30 years. So in comparison, it's nothing. Yes, I've lost a lot of money, but I lost a lot of money and I also know I can make a lot of money if I do things right. Even if I think I'm a shit trader now, I know I love what I do. And the reason I'm here is because I allow my emotions to control me. So if I learn to take control of those emotions, I can be a great trader. I don't have a strategy that works, but I'm prepared to spend 3 months, 6 months, or a year to perfect one that suits my personality. And this is what you need to be doing. You need to start changing the way you think. Take control of those emotions, listen to them, and then act on them. With every little step you take, it's not going to be easy. But if you all want this as bad as you say you want it, the past will be a thing of the past. And you will be able to set yourself free and start focusing on building your future. And once you change your way of thinking, you will open up new avenues to allow yourself to take a route on your journey as a trader, to change what you've been doing that has been getting you these negative results and be able to control your emotions and work on the new path that you're about to take. But I just want to make this very clear. If you do not change the way you think, you will not be able to change your approach to how you trade. And that is one thing you must accept. If you do not change the way you think, your approach will continue to remain the same and it will never change. Does this make sense? Zoom. Does this make sense, Instagram? Thank you. Okay. So I just want you guys to remember this before we wrap up. Okay. The emotions that you are feeling or have been feeling and will continue to feel are part and parcel of your business. It's not a negative thing. And the truth of the matter is, they will never go away. But your growth as a trader depends entirely not on the strategy that you trade, not how many pips you made on your last trade or how much money you want to make, but rather on your ability to listen to your emotions at the right time and act on them. To not perceive them as a hindrance to your growth, but rather a message that you need to stop for a moment and reason on what you are about to do. Because most traders can make money, but the majority of traders do not know how to keep their money. And what they're better at doing is giving back and losing a lot more to factors that simply stem from allowing their emotions to make them do irrational things. So your perspective of your emotions is what is going to determine your next action. You need to change those emotions from, I just lost this trade, to, okay, this trade went in my direction. Time to see what I never went in my direction. Time to see why it happened. And if there's no reason why, then log it down as part of your 100 trades. And remember this, there is always 99 more trades after the one you just took that needs to be taken in order to allow for the numbers game to play in your favor. You need to change those emotions from I missed this trade to, okay, I never got on this trade, but it played out in my direction. So that was epic analysis on my part. Time to move on. Won nothing, lost nothing. You need to change those emotions from I can't seem to build a small account to anything substantial and say, I will be patient enough and work on the process. And whilst I'm doing this, I will prove to myself that I will be ready to take a funded account challenge in the future once I've saved up enough money from my 9 to 5. Remove that pressure. You need to change those emotions from, oh my God, I've just taken my 5th break-even trade in a row, to thank goodness I never lost 5 trades in a row. I lived to trade another day. And what you do with those emotions you are facing or you're going to be facing is going to be the make or break of your trading career. And if you cannot get them in check just by simply changing your perspective and pausing for 60 seconds before you take your next plan of action, then I regret to say that you might as well give up. Whatever results that you guys are getting from your trading is telling you a message, and you need to listen to it and translate that message in a way that you expect or can accept it in a positive way. And I'll just say this, there is no situation that you are facing today as traders that none of us are going through. We are all going through it. And there's only 3 scenarios that we face, or at least 3 that we all should be facing. That's either a winning trade, a break-even trade, or a losing trade. And when you think of trading like that, then it's not that deep. What you create outside of those 3 situations will then be your own fault. And if you recognize this is something you're stepping outside of, then you need to reel it back in, because that's your sign. And as a final note, just remember this, guys, that a losing trade or taking a break-even trade is not the end of the world. Technically, you haven't lost anything. You're just taking the necessary steps you need to take as a trader to get you to where you need to be in order to receive the rewards that you deserve. And remember that every trade you take, there should be 0 expectation other than a trade you just took to make the 100 trades you're trying to get to. Remember, this is a journey. And if you constantly allow the markets to control you emotionally, it means that it will always control you emotionally, no matter what you do. You need to identify what it is you need to work on and make those changes. Remember, identify the emotions as they start to develop, listen to them, and then act on them. And I really hope this helps. Does this make sense, Instagram?